Thank you for choosing Liaison Athena to meet your company's EDI needs. The following video will teach you to create and send EDI invoices, known as 810s, to Do It Best Corporation. Since you've chosen to be a part of Do It Best's Hub Pay plan, you'll submit your invoices through the Liaison Athena website. The site can be accessed from any computer with internet, using Internet Explorer, Mozilla Firefox, or Google Chrome. You should have received your login credentials in an email when you first signed up with Liaison. However, if you do not have them, please send an email to softshare.tpc@liaison.com to request them. Within Athena, you can create an invoice for a purchase order that was faxed, emailed, or submitted to you by phone. To generate the invoice template, click Compose at the top of the folders list, then choose Invoice, and then Do It Best 810. Here is the form where you'll enter the information for the invoice. The form has been developed specifically to Do It Best's requirements, so all you need to do is enter the invoice information, click Send, and we'll take care of the rest. On our network, the data that you submit will be translated into the EDI format and transmitted securely to Do It Best. Looking over the form, you may have noticed that some fields have a yellow background. This signifies that the field is a default field, and it will hold whatever information you enter in it. Default fields are useful in instances where you'll be using the same information in a particular field on every invoice, for instance, the sender and receiver ID fields. Once you've filled them out correctly one time, they'll store their information and will automatically be filled out on each additional invoice you create. Your sender ID will be your new Athena mailbox number, and it will probably be the only option on the drop-down menu. For the receiver ID, you should pick ZZ ADX DIB Bill, since you've chosen to be a part of the Do It Best Hub Pay plan. There are a few default fields that are already set for you, but you can turn any field into a default by clicking the field and then clicking Set Default. Note that the bold fields designate that the information is mandatory per Do It Best's requirements. The non-bold fields signify that the information is optional, but generally it's best to include as much information as you can. Now we'll go through and enter the invoice information. The invoice number, of course, is the number that you or your accounting system has assigned. The invoice date will be the date that you send the invoice to Do It Best. It will automatically populate with today's date, since you'll usually be creating and sending the invoice on the same day. Fill out the purchase order number and purchase order date fields with the Do It Best order number. If you weren't given a number for the order, you need to contact your buyer or the store and ask them to provide you with a reference number. You've probably already established payment terms with Do It Best. If Do It Best should pay the invoice by these previously agreed upon terms, you don't need to include any terms of sale on this invoice. You should only use this section if you send an invoice that has different terms than usual. If you have charges or allowances aside from the costs of the line items, check the box to include these. As you can see, this includes taxes, item discounts, promotional discounts, and freight. The ship-to address is the address of the location the goods were or will be delivered. Each Do It Best location has an ID code assigned by Do It Best. You can fill out the ID code type field with Assigned by Do It Best, and then enter the 4-digit location ID in the ID field. If you weren't given a store number, you need to contact the buyer at Do It Best to find out. Now that we've completed the general information, the payment information, the charges and allowances, and the ship-to address, we're down to the line items themselves. By default, the invoice will show you just one line item. If you're invoicing multiple line items, just enter the number of additional line items you need, and then click Add. Enter the quantity, the unit of measure, and the price for each line item. You'll notice that the Do It Best SKU number, vendor part number, and UPC item code field are all non-bold, meaning they're optional. However, it's best to include at least one reference number if you can, so the Do It Best will easily be able to tell what item they're being charged for. In the description field, enter a free text description of the item. Also note that there may be charges or allowances that apply to specifically one line item, rather than to the invoice as a whole. You can indicate these by using the Charges Allowances checkbox at the line item level, For instance, if a particular line item is on sale, you can specify the discount at the line item level, since it applies only to that line item. Once the invoice has been filled out completely, you can click Preview at the top of the page to check your work. The preview copy will allow you to review the information you entered, including the total amounts, which will be displayed at the bottom. Once you're ready to send, you can either close the preview window or simply click back to the form from the Open Content section. Click Send at the top of the document, and the data will be delivered immediately to Do It Best. You'll see that the invoice is now saved in your Sent folder under the Do It Best header folder. It includes a date and a timestamp so you can easily tell when the invoice was delivered. If you have any questions about Liaison Athena, please contact softshare.support@liaison.com. If you have any questions concerning your business relationship with Do It Best, you can contact Vicki Baker at vicky.baker@doitbest.com.